Let's create a blank from which you can turn a segmented bowl. So here's a blank I've already got going, made out of walnut and maple. And there are a couple things that are great about doing bowls this way. One is when you're turning this, it's all long grain. We don't have any end grain. So it's easier to get a good quality cut because we're never scraping against end grain. The other thing is it saves a bunch of time because the middle is already at least partially hollow. There are a bunch of keys to what's going on here. We're going to create a ring, and the key to that ring is getting these segments exactly the right length and getting these angles perfectly cut so that when we put them together, it's seamless just like this one is. The key to getting those angles just right is to use MiterSet Segments. So what MiterSet Segments is a setup device that makes it just dirt simple to get any number of segments that you want, any angles that you need to produce without having to do any math. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to leave one pin at 0. If I know I want an 8-sided something, I put my other pin at 8. And then when my miter gauge goes in, I'm going to flip this around so you can see better. All I have to do is let the bar rest in that slot, move forward, let the fence bear against those pins, lock the head. What's that angle? I don't know, and I don't have to know. What I know from MiterSet Segments is that that gives me the perfect angle to make an 8-sided ring like we want for our bowl blank. From here, we're ready to start making cuts at the table saw. So like I said at the start, one thing that's critical is making sure we get the angle right, and MiterSet is going to do that for you. The other thing that'll be critical is getting the length right, so we'll use a stop block for that. With your parts, the easiest way to do this is to get one end cut on all of your material. So what I mean by that is on my walnut and maple, I'm going to cut one angle on each end, and then you'll see as I start doing additional cuts, we just kind of flip-flop through. The freshly cut end becomes the end we use against the stop block for the next cut, on and on and on and on and on, like this. Now I'll get a stop block positioned, and then we can start actually making our segments. Once the stop block is in place, this is a rinse and repeat kind of a thing. Kiss against the stop block, make a cut, flip, make another cut, till you run out of wood. A nice thing about having this fence on your miter gauge, two things. One, we need it because of the length of these pieces. Two, because it projects out here, it sweeps these small offcuts away from the blade, so they're not going to come back and get caught by the blade and hit you. So it's a nice safety device. Let's have a look at what we've got, because the fun part of this is starting to see your rings come together for your segments. Easiest way to grab these is with a band clamp. And in the end, how do we do with the MiterSet segments? The proof is in the pudding, which is, look at the way our seams are closed up. So the opportunity for cumulative error here is significant, that we are often just part of a degree that builds up very quickly because of the number of cuts we're making. So the accuracy we get from MiterSet is really, really good. It's the way to get started on this. Once we've got all these parts cut, use a band clamp like I have here, get everything glued together in a segment, and then we'll look at what we need to do in order to turn them into a bowl blank. Glue your rings together. When they're ready to come out of the clamps, the best way to treat these next is to run them through a drum sander. A drum sander is going to get them perfectly flat both faces, and that's going to get us ready to start gluing them into a stack. To make this into a bowl, we need a base. In this case, I've glued together some walnut, ran that through a drum sander so I know it's dead flat. So we're just about ready to do something like this, except that it's going to be easier to do if you cut that base to the same size as the ring. So when I started the glue up on this, I aligned the ring with the base, and then on the subsequent rings you can see I staggered them. I turned them just a little bit clockwise as I put them together, just to give this kind of a cool offset look as a finished bowl. Once you've got your base prepped and your rings prepped, then that part's easy. Glue them and clamp them in a stack. Let that glue dry, and then this is the really cool part. We get to head for the lathe and see what that bowl is going to look like. It's not even sanded and finished yet, and it already looks pretty darn amazing. I love the color contrast. So again, key to this is get the length of your segments consistent, get the angle right, and for that, we have MiterSet to thank for making it so simple to set up the miter gauge. Just pick the number of sides you want, set the pins, set your miter gauge to that, and you are ready to go to work toward making a segmented bowl like that one.